Hello. Welcome to Social Spirit Greece, the YouTube channel where we discuss topics from everyday life and history, issues related to our culture and society, which are often related to religion. Today's episode is the first in the new after popular request series, which will include your own ideas and suggestions. Chris makes the beginning since her own idea is the theme of this episode and we thank her very much. At the end of the video, a small quiz awaits you, the winner of which will have its own shout-out in the next episode. During the Middle Ages, the Renaissance and the early modern era, superstitions, prejudices dominated the culture and the societies of the Western world. Prior to the European Enlightenment, religious fanaticism and theocracy were a feature of Western societies. People were suspicious of any progressive idea while science was regarded as the devil's magic and worship. Thus, very often, the responsibility for the misfortunes, natural disasters and unpleasant events was attributed either to supernatural forces or to innocent victims, human and non-human. Most of us have heard of the criminal activity of the Holy Inquisition and the religious courts, the witch hunt, and the persecution of those who differed from the religious establishment or those who were believed to do so. However, not only humans but also non-human animals had been targeted by religious fanaticism, intolerance, superstition and prejudice. A natural disaster, food loss, an accident or some random misfortune could bring an innocent non-human animal to the court. Historical records state that this criminal irrationality lasted from about the 9th to the 18th century. Judicial decisions included executions, exile and imprisonment. According to the indictment of a trial in 1379 in a French monastery, pigs caused the death of a man. The defendants were sentenced to death. The abbot of the monastery, intending to avoid the financial cost of the pig's loss, begged the local feudal lord to grant pardon to the pigs of the monastery, except for the 3 who were considered responsible for the death of the man. And so it happened. For some inexplicable reason, pigs seem to have been the main victims of these dark and paranoid crimes. Paranoia is even more clear when we find out that accusations were more severe if crimes were committed on holy days and hours. And even more so if there was a case of sacrilege on the part of the animal, according to the prosecutor. Bulls, horses, pigs, roosters, oxen, sheep and cows, dogs, rats, insects, and even dolphins and eels did not escape the paranoid rage of that time people. When the arrest of the prosecuted was impossible, as in the case of rats and insects, the court sent strict letters with threats and recommendations for immediate removal. However, in cases where arrests were successful, the fate of the defenseless animals was appalling: execution by hanging, poisoning, arson, and even mutilation. The insanity of persecutions against non-human animals was not limited to accidents or disasters but even to outrageous cases such as that of a rooster in the Swiss town of Basel in 1474, which was accused of laying eggs. That was considered to be an evidence of demonic possession. But as in many historical events, there are some cases that may provoke laughter with the ridiculousness of human behavior. In the 16th century, the most famous insect advocate was Bartholomew Chassenet. At the trial for the destruction of the barley crop of the Autun province in France, whose responsibility was attributed to insects, he claimed that it was impossible to summon all his clients to court, and they should be acquitted due to the duration and difficulty of the trip and the serious dangers they would face in this because of the threat of their predators, the cats. Thus, due to the inability of the accused to attend, they were sentenced to excommunication. Insects were often sued for destroying agricultural crops. In 1587 in the French city of Saint-Julien, in a trial against insects, the defense attorney used the argument that insects were created before humans and God placed them in the area before the arrival of the latter. However, the insects were excommunicated and sentenced to exile on the grounds that they had to obey humans and take care of their interests. If laughter may be caused by the fact that insects had been excommunicated and exiled, this certainly cannot happen in the countless cases where non-human animals have been hanged or burned alive simply because the people of that time were blinded by fanaticism, ignorance and prejudice. Therefore, it is an opportunity to rethink the issue of human attitude and behavior towards non-human animals. Today, while our culture is supposed to be based on the values of humanism and democracy, the non-human animals exploitation industry continues to commit a genocide, motivated by human greed and barbarism. In a world where science and technology can provide us so many ways to meet our needs without exploiting, hurting and killing living creatures, profit and greed seem to excel. Even the environmental disaster, for which the exploitation of non-human animals has a huge share of responsibility, does not seem to concern modern humans. This was the first episode of the After Popular Request series, and we thank our friend Chris for the idea and the proposal. In the comments section, I am waiting for your suggestions and ideas for the next ones. If you like this video, please like it, and if you want to be informed about each new episode, please subscribe and ring the bell. And finally, the quiz. Which is the first recorded religious legal provision in history that provides for the conviction of a non-human animal? The first viewer who answers correctly will have its own shout-out in the next episode of After Popular Request series. Thank you very much and goodbye.